How did one stupid joke about my husband's little bells turn into a stack of legal papers with my own messages printed inside? Why is he the one walking out of the office lobby with his head high while I stand there shaking, holding documents that say I'm the problem? What if the moment we all laughed at him was the moment he quietly started planning my ending? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Dora Lark, but everyone calls me Dora. I am 32, I work as a receptionist at a small dental clinic, and I am tired of being the only interesting one in my own marriage. That is how I see it. People like to say I am too honest, but honesty is just what happens when I refuse to be boring. That night, I was in our small kitchen, phone propped up against the sugar jar, video calling my sister Jenna. The pasta water was boiling over, the pan was hissing, and Caleb was moving around behind me, rinsing his lunchbox in the sink like always. I told Jenna that my life felt flat, that I was becoming one of those women who only talk about discount detergent and daycare pickup. She laughed and told me to stop being dramatic, then asked what was wrong with Caleb now. I said he was fine, just quiet, always serious, never playful. I said I felt like I was married to a wall with a toolbox. Jenna asked if at least he was good in bed. I rolled my eyes and told her I did not want to talk about that. She said she needed to know because it was the only important thing. Her face was close to the camera, waiting. So I gave her what she wanted. I told her that Caleb had little bells. I moved my fingers in the air, holding them a few inches apart, and made a ringing motion, like I was shaking something small and silly. I said his little bells were cute, but not exactly useful for serious work. Jenna threw her head back and screamed with laughter. She asked if I was serious. I said yes, totally serious, and I pretended to whisper that it was like being married to a man who came from the kids' aisle. Behind me, I heard the tap of a plate on the counter go just a bit too hard. I did not turn around. I thought Caleb had his headphones in like usual. I kept talking. Jenna said at least I had free rent and a babysitter. I said that was true, that I should get a medal for staying loyal this long. I know how that sounds, but in that moment, it felt like a joke, like nothing. Then Jenna said she wished she could see my face when I said it, so I held the phone farther away and did it again. I made the little bell motion, shook my hand, and pulled a fake sad face. Jenna screamed, laughing again. She said I should post that on my story. I told her I could never. I was not that evil. She told me nobody would know it was him. We laughed and laughed. I only realized Caleb was really listening when he walked past the camera. He set his rinsed lunchbox down on the counter with a soft thud. I saw his jaw was tight, and his cheeks had a strange color, like when he had a fever. He did not say a word. He just picked up his glass of water and walked out of the kitchen. Jenna saw his shoulder in the corner of the screen. She bit her lip and asked if he heard. I said he knew we joked like this. I said he was fine. I said he was too grown to be sensitive about a few words. Inside, my stomach twisted, but I pushed that feeling down. If I let myself feel bad every time someone did not like my jokes, I would never say anything. A minute later, Caleb came back in. He did not look at the phone. He asked in a very calm voice what I had just said about him. I told him it was nothing, just girl talk. He said he had heard enough to know it was not nothing. I told him he was overreacting. I reminded him that he had told his brother once that I snored. I asked why this was different. He answered that he had never gone on a video call and acted out my body for someone to laugh at. I told him Jenna was family, not someone. I told him he was being dramatic. Jenna was still on the call, silent but present, eyes wide. I hated that. I hated that he made me look like I was in trouble in front of my own sister. So I doubled down. I told him he should learn to laugh at himself. I said men who could not take a joke were weak. I said it lightly, but I meant it. He stared at me for a long second. Then he said he needed some air and walked to the bedroom. The door clicked, not loud, but final. Jenna let out a breath and asked what his problem was. I told her he had sensitive ego syndrome. She laughed again, and that made me feel like I was right. If other people think it is funny, it cannot be that bad. That is how it works, at least in my world. After the call, when the dishes were done and the kitchen was quiet, I went to the bedroom. He was lying on his side of the bed, facing the wall. I told him he was making a big deal out of nothing. He said that, for him, it was not nothing to hear his wife describe his body like a joke. He said he felt like an object in a group chat. He said he wondered if that was how I talked about him all the time. I told him he was twisting things. I said I was just venting, that everyone vents. I told him if he had not been listening at the door, he would not be hurt. He said it was his kitchen, his home, and his name in my mouth. He said he could not unhear it. That annoyed me more than anything. I said he was punishing me with silence and guilt. I said that was emotional abuse. He went quiet then, which I took as proof. When a man does not fight back, it is easy to decide you are the victim. I turned off the light with a hard click and lay down. I told myself that if he did not want to be embarrassed, he should give me less to joke about. It sounded cruel, even in my head, but I refused to change the words. The next day, while I was on my lunch break at the clinic, my phone buzzed. It was a message request from some girl I barely knew from high school. She sent a short video. I tapped it open without thinking. There I was, on a shaky screen, at our friend Cassidy's old birthday, a month ago, standing in a restaurant, doing the little bells motion, while people at the table screamed with laughter. Caleb's face was in the background, turned down, eyes on his plate. Under the video, the girl had written a single line. "Isn't this your husband?" My name was in the notification bar all afternoon, but it was not the way I wanted. The girl from high school had sent that old video from Cassidy's birthday, the one where I already did the little bells joke once. I watched myself on the tiny screen, standing beside a cake, lifting my fingers like I was ringing something small. People at the table bent over laughing. Caleb sat there, looking at his plate, shoulders tight. The girl had written in her message that she thought it was me and asked if the man in the video was my husband. I told myself it was fine. I told myself that if something embarrassing exists, the best move is to own it before anyone can use it against you. That has always been my rule. So I typed back that yes, that was my husband, and that we had the kind of marriage where we could laugh about everything. I added a laughing emoji. She reacted with one too. That felt like a win. When I showed the clip to Jenna over another video call, she almost fell off her bed laughing. She said that the joke was iconic now, that I was basically a comedian. I told her I was only being honest, and I added that if Caleb did not want to be a character in my stories, he should be more interesting. Saying it out loud made it sound even more true in my head. A week later, Cassidy invited us over for a couples game night at her apartment. She said she wanted good vibes, no drama. I agreed, told her our drama was finished, that Caleb and I were fine. He did not say much in the car on the way there, but he came. To me, that meant he was over it. Cassidy's living room was full of people and cheap wine. She put on loud music and brought out a trivia game. We sat on the floor with cushions. Caleb sat beside me, legs crossed, hands on his knees. I saw him check his phone and slide it face down beside him. For a second, I noticed the screen, his calendar app with a small dot on a weekday afternoon. A line of text flashed and then vanished when the screen went dark. I thought I saw the word meeting, but I did not pay attention. His work always had random jobs. The game started. Everyone took turns answering questions. After a while, the group shifted to story time. Cassidy asked each couple to share something funny or embarrassing about their partner. When it was my turn, everyone looked at me on the couch, waiting. I felt that familiar heat behind my chest, the one that says now is your chance to stay memorable. I began to tell them about how Caleb takes forever to choose a movie. They smiled politely. It was not enough. So I said there was something even better, something my sister and I joked about. Cassidy leaned forward and told me to share, because now she needed to know. Someone across the room lifted their phone, pretending to check messages, but the camera was pointed in our direction. I told the story of the little bells again. I said that, when we first got together, I thought his body was cute in a fun-size way. I held up my hand and made the same ringing motion in the air. People laughed. Someone choked on their drink. Cassidy screamed with laughter like Jenna had. She clapped her hands and said she could not breathe. The phone at the edge of the group tilted slightly, framing me better. Caleb said my name once, low. I did not stop. I felt too far in. I said that I told him he should be proud anyway, because little bells still make noise if you shake them hard enough. The room exploded. I knew I was crossing a line, but the sound of everyone else laughing made it feel right. It felt like proof that I was not cruel, just funny. Later, in the car, he said that I had made him feel like a circus act. I answered that he could have spoken up in the moment if it bothered him that much. He said that if he had, I would have called him controlling in front of our friends. That made me angry because it was true, and I did not like him knowing that. So I told him he was trying to control me anyway, after the fact. I said that if he did not want to be in the story, he should be more than food and bills. He went quiet again. I took his silence as proof that he had no good answer. The next Sunday, we had a bigger dinner at a family restaurant. Long table, children with crayons, loud plates, sticky menus. My mother, Raina, sat on one side of me, Jenna on the other. Across from us were Caleb's mother, Elaine, and his brother Mark with his wife and kids. Mila sat between me and Caleb, drawing on a paper placemat. My mother asked what had been going on. Jenna jumped in and said that I had turned into a star after the Little Bells story. Elaine's eyes narrowed a little. Mark looked at Caleb, not at me. Cassidy's boyfriend had posted a small clip from game night to his private story, and somehow it had reached Jenna, and then my mother. The joke was traveling. Raina asked me to tell the story properly so everyone could hear. She said she needed a laugh. I told her that it might be a bit too much for the restaurant. She waved a hand and said that we were all adults. Jenna nudged me with her elbow, eyes bright. I saw myself reflected in the metal salt shaker. Shiny, small, and distorted. So I told it again. I used my hands like I had before. I said that my husband had little bells, and that I had been very patient. I acted out a fake serious face, then a sad one. The kids did not understand. They just laughed because the adults laughed. Raina slapped the table with her palm and said that some men needed humbling. Jenna almost cried from laughing. Even a cousin at the far end held up their phone, filming, saying they wanted to send the story to a friend who needed the laugh. Elaine's fork paused above her plate. She looked at Caleb. He had his eyes down again, jaw tight. He said nothing. Mark cleared his throat and told the cousin it was enough. The cousin shrugged and kept recording anyway for a few seconds, before turning the camera to their dessert. I knew it would end up somewhere. I told myself that was good. I wanted the world to know how brave I was to speak truth about my marriage. After dinner, Elaine pulled me aside near the restroom. She said quietly that some jokes hit deeper than I thought. She said that if I cared about Caleb, I might choose to protect him in front of others instead of exposing him. I told her she came from another time, when women had to protect men more than themselves. I said that in my world, women spoke freely. She looked tired after that, and just nodded. I told myself she was jealous because nobody listened to her stories anymore. On the drive home, Caleb finally spoke more than 2 sentences. He said he felt like everyone at the table had seen inside our bedroom without his choice. He said he could not understand how I could laugh as our daughter sat there drawing. I said that Mila did not know what we were talking about, so it did not count. I added that if he wanted to be respected, he could start by respecting my right to speak. I told him that his silence and hurt feelings were manipulative. I said he was using guilt to control me. He did not yell. He did not hit anything. He only said that he had heard enough and that he would think about what to do next. That line bothered me. I asked what he meant. He just said that words had consequences. Then he stared out the window. I pressed him to talk more, but he stayed quiet all the way home. Later that night, after Mila was asleep and Caleb was in the shower, my phone buzzed on the sofa. A notification from someone I barely knew lit up the screen. It was a link to a short vertical video. I tapped it. There I was, standing at the restaurant table, doing the little bells motion with my fingers, my mother crying with laughter, Jenna pounding the table. Behind me, perfectly in frame, was Caleb's face, pale and still. Under the clip, the caption read that some wives were savage, and the comments were already starting to appear. On Monday morning, the video of me at the restaurant had more likes than any photo I had posted in months. That was the first thing I saw when I woke up. The caption called me savage. Some comments said my husband looked broken, some said he should man up, some just laughed. I chose to read only the ones that agreed with me. I told myself that if strangers were on my side, then I must be right. At the clinic, the front desk felt louder than usual. The other receptionist, Hannah, kept glancing at me and then at her phone. While I was checking in a patient, I heard the dentist, Mr. Patel, ask softly what they were laughing at. Hannah said it was nothing. When the patient went into the room, she turned her screen toward me for a second. I saw my own face on it, frozen mid-laugh, fingers making the little bell shape. She asked if that really was my husband in the back of the video. I said it was, and I added that we joked like that all the time. I told her he knew I was extra when he married me. She gave me a look that I did not like. She said she hoped he was not too hurt. I laughed and said that if men got hurt every time women made jokes, the world would stop turning. I said I was just being real. She nodded but did not say anything else. That annoyed me. I wanted approval, not quiet judgment. By the end of the day, even the hygienist had seen the clip. In the break room, she asked if things were okay at home. I told her that my husband was giving me the silent treatment. I said he was trying to punish me emotionally, instead of just talking like an adult. I did not mention that he had asked me, calmly, to stop. I left that part out because it did not fit the story, where I was the one being wronged. When I got home that night, Caleb was already there. He had picked up Mila from daycare and made her dinner. The smell of pasta and tomato sauce filled the kitchen. He was washing her tiny plate while she colored at the table. I walked in and kissed Mila on top of her head. Caleb said nothing. He nodded once, then moved past me. I felt like a stranger in my own house, and I hated that feeling. I asked him if he planned to ignore me forever. He answered that he was not ignoring me. He was just not willing to pretend everything was fine. He told me he had seen the latest video, the one with the caption calling me savage. He said that I had made what was private into a performance. I told him he was overthinking and that the internet would forget in 2 days. He said he would not forget. I told him that was his choice. Later, when Mila was in bed, I came back into the living room and saw him on the couch with his phone. He was not scrolling through social media like usual. He had his notes app open, typing slowly. When he noticed me, he locked the screen. I asked what he was writing. He said he was just making a list of things he needed to remember. I said it looked serious. He said that it was. On the coffee table, his phone buzzed. A calendar reminder flashed. Meeting, personal, downtown, 3:15 p.m. The time was set for 2 days later. I asked him what it was. He said it was nothing I needed to worry about, just something he had to do. I told him he was being secretive. He replied that we both had secrets now. That line stung. I told him he was being unfair. He went back to his notes. I did not like that balance. I wanted to be the one who could keep things from him, not the other way round. So when Hannah asked if I wanted to go for drinks with some people after work on Thursday, I said yes right away. She said they were going to the rooftop bar a few blocks from the clinic, the one with the string lights and loud music. She mentioned the bartender, Luca, and said he was nice. I remembered him from another time. He always smiled extra wide at me when I came in. On Thursday evening, the air at the bar was warm, full of music and chatter. I wore a dress that hugged me in the right places. I told myself it was harmless, that I just needed to feel seen by someone. Hannah introduced me to Luca again. He remembered my name from my last visit. He asked how my week had been. I told him it was crazy and joked that the internet was obsessed with my marriage. He raised his eyebrows and asked what that meant. I told him about the joke in a light way, acting like it did not bother anyone. He said my husband must be a strong man if he could take that. I laughed and said that was the problem, that my husband could not. I said he shut down instead of fighting for me. Luca said that was a shame. He told me a woman like me needed someone who could match her energy. I liked the way that sounded. My face warmed at his attention, and I let it. We drank. We leaned closer to hear each other over the music. I said I felt trapped with a man who refused to touch me now, that his pride was stronger than his love. I told Luca that my husband had moved to the edge of the bed, that he turned his back. I left out that I had made him into a public joke. I told it like I was the one who had been rejected first. Luca asked if we were still together, or if we were basically done. I told him we were in a strange place, that we were married on paper but separated in spirit. I said I was just waiting to see if he would change. That made me sound patient and loyal instead of cruel. Luca said he did not want to get between a married couple. I told him he was not getting between anything, that there was already a gap. I could see him relax a little at that. When the bar closed, he offered to walk me to my ride. Outside, the city air was cooler, the parking lot lit by harsh white lights. I called a rideshare and told him it was on the way. We stood by the curb. He brushed a bit of hair away from my face. I let him. I told myself that if Caleb could freeze me out, then I was free to feel warm somewhere else. I told myself that it was Caleb's fault for pulling away. The car pulled up. Before I got in, Luca leaned closer. I did not step back. He kissed me. It was quick but sure. My heart jumped. I told myself this was just a small thing, just a moment. I told myself it did not count as real cheating because there had been no full anything. I climbed into the car with that lie wrapped around me like a coat. When I got home, the apartment was dark except for the blue glow of the TV. Caleb was on the couch, not watching, just staring past it. He looked at me once, then at the clock. He asked if I had fun. I said I had, that it was nice to be around adults who actually talked to me. He asked if I had anything to tell him. I said there was nothing. He nodded, then picked up his phone. As he leaned forward, I saw his contact list for a second. There was a new entry at the top, saved not with a name, but with a single pushpin emoji. Next to it was a missed call, time-stamped from that afternoon. He turned the screen away and opened his notes again. In the quiet room, the only sound was the soft tap of his fingers and the tiny buzz of a calendar reminder for that personal meeting I still pretended not to understand. Elaine always cooked too much food, as if more dishes could fix anything. That Sunday, her small house smelled like roasted chicken and garlic bread. The table was set for all of us, with bright placemats for the kids. Mila ran straight to her cousins, shouting that Grandma's house meant dessert. Caleb carried a bowl to the table, moving carefully around me like I was hot oil. I told myself he was still sulking. I told myself that if he wanted the tension to stop, he could just decide it was over. In my head, I was already the patient one. Elaine greeted me at the door with a gentle hug. She said she was glad we came. Her eyes stayed on mine a little too long, like she was checking for something. Mark came in from the backyard with tongs in his hand and nodded at me. He asked Caleb if work was busy. Caleb said it was steady and started to talk about a big job he had next week. I noticed that he did not say anything about us. I chose to take that as rude. We all sat at the long table. Kids chattered, plates passed, cutlery clicked. Raina sat near the middle, loudly telling a story about a customer at her salon. She loved holding attention. Jenna sat beside me, already on her phone, probably checking if anyone new had shared the stupid video. I kept my smile wide and my voice bright. I was not going to be the quiet one in this house, too. At some point, Raina turned to Elaine and said she had seen the famous clip of me making jokes about my husband. She said I was very brave. Elaine's hand stiffened on her fork. She asked in a careful voice what joke that was. Raina explained the whole thing in her own words, talking about how I did a little hand motion, and everyone screamed laughing. She said that some men needed to be humbled to keep them in line. Elaine looked between Caleb and me. She asked if it was true that I had told that story many times. I said I was just being open, that my sister and friends loved my honesty. I said I believed couples should not hide these things. Jenna chimed in and said that I had gone viral in at least 3 group chats. She said Caleb should be proud that his wife could make people laugh. Caleb put down his fork. He said he did not feel proud. He said he felt exposed. Mark shifted in his seat and asked everyone to remember there were kids at the table. Raina rolled her eyes and said the kids did not understand anything. Mila looked up then, just long enough that I had to pretend her wide eyes meant nothing. I felt cornered, so I pushed back. I told Elaine that in our generation, women refused to sit in silence and pretend everything was perfect. I said that my jokes were just proof that I was real, not fake. I added that if Caleb was hurt, he could talk to me, but he chose to give me the cold shoulder instead. I said that was worse than any joke. Elaine suggested in a soft tone that some things might be better kept between us. She said she worried that public shame could hurt trust. I snapped that trust went both ways and that I did not feel trusted either, since Caleb was so secretive lately. I mentioned his new calendar reminders and his notes app, loud enough that everyone could hear. Caleb's jaw tightened. He asked me not to drag his private lists into this conversation. I said he had already dragged my body online by refusing to support me and letting people think he was fragile. The table went quiet. The kids kept eating. In that silence, Caleb said he heard me and that he would think about what he needed to do next. It was almost the same line as in the car, and I hated how calm it sounded. It felt like he had the upper hand just because he did not raise his voice. After lunch, Elaine asked Caleb if he could help her move something in the garage. They walked away. Mark stayed in the kitchen with me, helping clear plates. He asked if I was sure I wanted to keep talking about the joke in public. He said it looked painful for his brother. I told him that he did not understand what it was like to be mocked in silence for years. I said Caleb made me feel small with his quiet, so I was just balancing things. Mark stared at the dish in his hands. He said he had never seen Caleb mock me to anyone. I told him, of course, he would not, because Caleb only did it with his silence. Mark did not argue more. He just said he loved his niece and hoped we would both think of her. Then he went outside. On the drive home, Mila fell asleep in the back seat. I scrolled through my phone and saw new comments under the clip from the restaurant. A few people were calling me cruel now. They said Caleb's face in the video made them feel sick. Others still laughed and said he needed to get over it. I liked only the laughing ones. I told myself the others were jealous. We stopped by the neighborhood playground so Mila could run around when she woke up. The sun was low, the slides warm, parents already talking in small groups. I sat on a bench while Mila climbed the ladder. 2 mums I knew from daycare stood nearby, sharing a phone screen and whispering. Every few seconds, they glanced at me. When they came over, one of them asked if everything was okay at home. She said she had seen a video going around and hoped I was not being treated badly. I felt my back go straight. This was my chance to fix the story. I told them that my husband had decided to shut down emotionally. I said that instead of talking about what bothered him, he walked around the house like a ghost. I added that he refused to touch me now, that he had moved to the edge of the bed on purpose. They asked if something had happened first. I said only that I made a silly joke that everyone else found funny. I said he used it as an excuse to punish me. I called it emotional abuse. I said I felt like he was training me to never speak. They made concerned faces and nodded. That soothed me. In that moment, I believed my own story again. When we got home, the apartment felt different. The guest bedroom door was half open, the bed made but not flat, like someone had been sleeping there. In the kitchen, there were 2 mugs on the counter, one near the coffee machine, one all the way by the sink. It looked like 2 separate stations. On the table, Caleb's laptop was open to a blank spreadsheet. The only thing on it was a neat row of dates. Beside it, his phone buzzed with a small notification, another reminder from his calendar. I saw only a piece of it before the screen dimmed, something about a follow-up. I told him later that evening that it was childish to sleep in the guest room. He said he needed space to think clearly. I accused him of preparing to leave without even trying to fix things. He answered that he had tried to talk, but I had turned his pain into content. I told him he was playing the victim and making me the villain again. I said if he really felt humiliated, he should just say so instead of hiding behind notes and meetings. We were in the living room when I started to repeat some of the lines I always used with Jenna, just to prove my point. I said that he was acting like the world ended because I mentioned his body. I said he should be grateful I was still there, when other women would have left. I felt the heat of my own words and pushed them further. Caleb was standing by the bookshelf, his phone in his hand. He watched me for a moment. Then, very calmly, he woke the screen and opened the camera. I saw the lens lift and point at me. He said he wanted to remember my exact words this time and asked me to go ahead and say the joke again. He held the phone steady, waiting, as if I was something under a microscope and not his wife. He held the phone up like he was a reporter and I was some politician. My mouth went dry. I could see my own face in the black screen, small and mean. He asked me to repeat what I had just said. His voice was very even. It made me angry that he sounded so calm. I told him to put the phone down. I said he was trying to scare me. I said recording me was creepy. He answered that he just wanted to remember things clearly. He said that when he tried to tell me later how I spoke, I claimed he twisted it, so he wanted proof. I told him he was turning our home into a courtroom. I asked if he planned to play the clip for a jury. I meant it as a joke, but it did not land. He lowered the phone and saved the video without another word. That night, he did not sleep in our bed at all. He took his pillow and went to the guest room. I heard the mattress creak on the other side of the apartment. I lay there thinking he was being dramatic. I told myself he was just trying to punish me. In my head, that meant he had already broken the marriage first. I turned my back to the empty space beside me and thought about Luca's hands on my waist outside the bar. The memory made me feel warm and chosen. I held on to that. The next morning, I went to buy groceries after work. At the supermarket, I filled the cart without thinking. When I tried to pay with our joint card, the machine beeped and declined. The cashier tried again. Same result. People in line started to shift and sigh. My face burned. I pulled out my personal card and paid, but the limit was low, so I had to put a few things back. It felt like the whole store was watching. When I got home, I asked Caleb if there was a problem with the bank. I said the card had not worked. He told me he had separated our accounts and moved most of his pay into a new one. He said he had left enough for basic shared bills and groceries, but he wanted things more clear. I called it financial abuse. I told him he was trying to trap me. He answered that he had no interest in trapping anyone. He said he just did not want more surprises. I texted Jenna in a rush, fingers shaking. I told her that Caleb had frozen the card and made his own account. I said he was trying to starve me out. She sent voice notes saying he was playing dirty. She told me to grab whatever I could while my name was still on anything. She said men got clever when they felt threatened. I liked hearing that because it made me the victim again. I called my mother too. I told her that Caleb was moving money and sleeping in another room. I said he was thinking of leaving and wanted to leave me with nothing. Raina told me I had to be tough. She said I should check all the drawers and files, see what I could copy. She said I should not be stupid nice while he prepared his escape. That night, when Caleb went out to take the trash, I tried the drawer where he kept the bills. It did not open. There was a new lock on it. I tugged harder. It stayed shut. The sound of the key turning behind me made me jump. He was at the door. He asked if I needed something. I told him this was my house too. I said it was shady to lock drawers from your own wife. He answered that he had every right to keep his private papers safe. He did not raise his voice. He just closed the drawer and pocketed the small new key. Later, while he was brushing his teeth, his laptop screen lit up on the dining table. A small cloud icon popped up in the corner. It said, "File uploaded successfully. Archive A." There was a date next to it. I stared at the words. Archive sounded like a box of old memories, except this box lived somewhere I could not touch. I felt a small chill and told myself it was nothing. Maybe he was just backing up photos. Maybe he was being dramatic, not dangerous. I kept seeing Luca. I told myself I needed him. I told myself I deserved some happiness while my husband played secret games. One evening, after another drink at the bar, I told Luca more details. I said that Caleb had started recording me and locking drawers. I said he was moving money and acting cold. Luca frowned. He said it sounded messy. He said he did not want trouble. I grabbed his arm and told him there was no trouble, that my husband was too weak to do anything real. I said he only knew how to sulk. Luca's eyes slid away. I could feel him pulling back, and that made me squeeze tighter. When I got home that night, the living room lights were off. Caleb was at the table under the small lamp, papers spread out. I paused in the doorway. I could not see what was on the pages, only neat stacks and a small USB drive beside them. His phone buzzed. A reminder flashed across the screen. Courthouse, 9:25 a.m. My chest tightened. I told myself it was a parking thing, or maybe a work permit. I tried to laugh as I asked if he planned to sue me for making jokes. He said he had a few errands to handle. That was all. Mila started to notice the changes. One night, when I tucked her in, she asked why Daddy had another bed now. She said she heard him in the other room at night. I told her he was just snoring too loud in our bed. I said it was like a sleepover room. She seemed half satisfied, but her little face stayed serious. That annoyed me. I thought kids should not be so sensitive. A few days later, I was in the hallway folding laundry when my phone pinged with a doorbell alert. We had a small camera at the front entrance of the building. I opened the app and saw a man in a plain jacket standing at the door below. He held a clipboard. He asked the neighbor if Caleb Lark still lived here. Hearing my husband's full name from a stranger's mouth made my blood go cold. The neighbor pointed up toward our floor. The man nodded and checked something off on his page. When Caleb came home that evening, I demanded to know what was going on. I told him strange men were looking for him. I said this was how criminals acted. He stared at me like I had lost my mind. He answered that when people needed to reach you in an official way, they sometimes sent others. He said that was normal. I called it sneaky. I said only guilty people arranged quiet visits like that. He didn't answer. He went into the guest room and closed the door. I tried to force a fight the next night. I followed him from room to room, asking if he was planning to abandon his family. I said he was already doing it by sleeping apart and locking things up. I told him he was pushing me into other arms. I said if he did not want me to look elsewhere, he should act like a husband. He finally sat down at the end of the couch and looked straight at me. His face was tired but steady. He said he had heard every word I had said in the past weeks. He said he had watched the videos, read the comments, listened to the way I spoke about him to our families and friends. He said he knew about Luca. My heart lurched at that last part, but I tried not to show it. I asked what he thought he was going to do with his little meetings and his notes. He took a breath. He said he was done arguing in circles. He said that from now on, he would handle everything properly. Properly sat in my head like a stone. I told myself it was just another empty threat. Men always said things like that and then did nothing. I still believed that even on the morning, everything actually changed. It was a busy day at the clinic. Phones ringing, patients filling the chairs, kids whining about needles. I was behind the front desk in my pale blue uniform, smiling in that fake calm way I used when people were afraid. Mr. Patel walked past with a chart and nodded at me. Hannah tapped at her keyboard beside me. It felt almost normal. Then the lobby door opened, and Caleb walked in. He was in a clean button-up shirt I had not seen in months, hair trimmed, beard neat. He didn't look like a man falling apart. He looked like someone on his way to a job interview. For a second, my heart lifted. I thought maybe he had come to talk, to finally fight, to prove he still cared enough to chase me. Before I could speak, another man stepped through the door behind him. Plain jacket, clipboard in hand. He glanced around the lobby and asked, in a clear voice that everyone heard, if Dora was present. The waiting patients looked up. Hannah's fingers froze above her keyboard. Mr. Patel stopped in the hallway. I felt my face go hot. I said that was me. The man checked his paper and asked me to confirm my date of birth. I did, because my mouth moved before my brain could stop it. Then he held out an envelope and said he was serving me with documents. He left it on the counter when I did not take it fast enough. He told me I'd been officially notified and walked out. The room went quiet except for a child's cartoon playing faintly from someone's phone. I looked at Caleb. He didn't look away this time. His eyes were steady, not cruel, just done. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. On top was a petition for divorce. My name and his, printed in cold black letters. Behind it, neatly clipped, were screenshots of the Little Bells videos, still frames of my face twisted in fake pity, my fingers making that stupid motion. There were group chat logs of me and Jenna joking about his body, my mother's comments about humbling men, timestamps of nights out with Luca matched to rideshare receipts and bar charges. There was a request for temporary custody orders for Mila, a schedule, notes about stability and public humiliation, a section asking for certain online posts and videos to be taken down, calling them harmful and defamatory. It said all communication about the case should go through the attorneys listed. I heard my own voice say this was crazy, that he was overreacting, that he was making a private issue into a show. I half laughed and told Mr. Patel this was just a misunderstanding, that Caleb was being dramatic. My laugh sounded wrong in my ears. Caleb spoke then, calm and clear, like he had practiced. He said that from now on, everything about us would be handled through the proper channels. He said he would pick up Mila at the Times, written in the temporary order, and that we would follow whatever the court decided. He said there was nothing more to discuss here. I told him he was embarrassing me at my job. He answered that I had already done that to him many times on purpose. His voice didn't rise. He just said it and turned away. As he walked out of the clinic lobby, shoulders straight, the patients and my co-workers watched him go. I stood frozen behind the desk, legal papers in my hand, my own words and jokes printed inside, and no way left to twist them into anything else.